Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. This is a video that was kind of already addressed by your boy Zach this morning, but I want to make a video on it too. That's allowed, right? Little different take though. First, Downcast Rise and Falls on Indiegogo right now. We're still getting backers. Like the rate of backers has increased. This is just amazing. So thanks everybody. But I think we're going to break through 34,000, which would be fantastic. So if you haven't backed it yet, check it out. It's in the link in the description below. All right, so I saw this on Twitter. This is comic tropes, and he said the answer is yes. So, well, first off, he's retweeting this New York Times article. Can comic books survive the coronavirus era? There's a semantics problem, I think, and that's part of the issue. Okay, we'll get to that. All right, he says the answer is yes. Comic books will survive. Of course, comics will survive. It's a medium. Will some publishers shutter their doors? Possibly. Will comic shops go out of business and freelancers be out of work? Probably. But comics won't go away. All right, so here's the thing. When I hear people say comics are dying, it's not that they're wrong. It's the semantics, and I think that's why there's such confusion and outright opposition. The medium, and even your boy Zach said this too, the medium of words and pictures that we know of comics, that's not going to go away. It's going to exist as long as anybody is willing to spend money on purchasing comics. There's still going to be comics. What's dying, and I fully agree with this, what's dying is the direct market. All the way from the distribution to the retailers, and the speed at which this happened, you have to give credit where credit's due. Your boy Zach, Comics Matter with your boy Zach, formerly known as Diversity in Comics, called this down to the year. He said this was going to be the last year for the direct market. That's what he said. He's right, and the astounding thing is that nobody has, it's always the credit's gonna go, I don't know, they're just gonna say it was the coronavirus, unexpected. But even normie news, New York Times, this is always how it works. I looked at the other article from Forbes, same thing. Anytime you get an outside observer looking at the comic book industry, they're gonna tell you the exact same thing, that there's a big problem in comics. All right, so we'll jump over to that article. And this is kind of the angle, though. This is what I wanted to focus on the most. It's interesting when they get quotes from several people talking about the industry in a very real way. It's nice to see this, but you don't see this. You haven't seen this coming out of comics news, generally speaking. And so here we go. Here's a quote, I think, from Golden Apple Comics, okay? Ryan Leibovitz. He says, maybe at some point I can open my doors again. Okay, he's a retailer. Maybe at some point I can open my doors again. But if they've been sitting at home without buying new comic books for 2-3 months, they might go, it was fun for a while, but I don't really need them anymore. Maybe they've reevaluated what's important to them. Now, let me ask you this question. How have your habits changed if you've been locked at home, or even if you're an essential worker, you've been out working? How has your habits, just daily routine, purchasing habits, how has all of that changed in the past month? Okay, I'm guessing that it's probably changed quite a bit. You know how many comics I've purchased in the past month? I don't know that I've purchased. I think I backed the Cyberfrog campaign. That was it. That's all I've done in the past month. That's very unusual for me, partially because my YouTube ad revenue is in the toilet. I cannot understand it. It's like, one-fifth of what it used to be. But whatever, we'll survive. But on the other hand, it's just that there have been all these other priorities. You know what has also changed? I've been getting into video games a little bit more, strangely enough. Been doing a lot of writing, preparing my comics, working on those. But as far as the hobby goes, things change. I mean, it's so easy. You just need a reason to get into something else. It's not that it's like you're just gonna leave comics behind. because you're just fed up with it, though that can happen for sure. The way that it works is you get interested in something else. Something else is demanding your dollars. That's all it takes, and then you've moved on. Uh, yeah, breaking the habit of buying comics or being into this hobby is so detrimental. It's going to be worse than anything else. If you can't get your regular fix of comic books, if you're not thinking about comics, if there's not a comic out there that's just begging you to buy it, you're gonna get out of the habit. Okay, so this is gonna go on longer than everybody thinks it's gonna go on. I'm not just talking about lockdowns, but I'm just saying the financial situation is going to last a lot longer. I think a lot of people have started to realize that. But yeah, it's going to continue. So this here's the thing. Even throughout all of this, if there's a book that you have to have that's just so good, it's got the right creative team on it, it's the right, subject matter, whatever. It's the book that you must have. You're going to find a way to get that book. This is true in all of business. What I feel like is missing from the comic book industry is must-haves, and when there's nothing to have, that maybe that's why my crowdfunding campaign is picked up. Possibly that's the reason. But that's the way that I feel like taking a step back, you have to look at things. Don't publish so much. You got to publish home runs. You got to, and not that everything's always going to be a home run, but you got to be seeking for things to publish that are going to be must-haves. And if you fail, you're going to fail spectacularly. But you can't just be churning out, volume like Marvel has been doing for so long. I'm not super satisfied with the way things are going, obviously. But this is the big one. Okay, people are going to lose their habits. All right, so you know what's going to start happening. I was wondering about how this was going to be affecting me personally, because Downcast is going to be, the plan was to go through the direct market and to be in comic book shops as single issues. I talked to Peter Simeti, my publisher, the publisher of Alterna Comics, and I said, how is this going to affect things? And he says, we're still publishing books. We got to do it. Okay, I hope this isn't groundbreaking, but I know he's been saying things like that publicly. And so I'm kind of shocked. I'm taken aback at how little this is actually affecting my comic book trajectory, which is amazing. And I feel like a big exception, but it's not just me. There are several people that are big exceptions. And it's because you're crowdfunding books. It's because you're still able to do this remotely. It's always been that way. You can talk to people over the interwebs, and people keep that interest alive. And that's what keeps people interested for when the next book is launched, because it's accompanied by YouTube content. They're paired together. They pair so well together. But it hasn't affected me. Now, what's going to happen, though, is as publishers like Alterna Comics and other publishers are going to start accepting that they're going to have to keep publishing comics, otherwise they're going to lose their readers. I know that comic book shops are going to be very upset about this, and a lot of people are going to be, non-comic book shop workers are going to be very upset with publishers that do that kind of thing and they keep publishing. But you have to understand, we can't all die. This isn't a suicide pact. We cannot all go down together. This industry is in such dire straits right now, as far as the direct market goes. But really, I'm just thinking about people that already are buying comics. They can easily move on and spend their money on other hobbies, and they will. So there's going to be a lot of this whole guilt capitalism. I'm going to call it that, guilt capitalism, where you can only make money under my terms because it's the right thing to do. We heard the whole thing with crowdfunding, same thing. Well, you don't care about comic book shops. The best thing that can happen for anybody, including comic shops in the comic industry, is that you keep people interested in comics. If they want to buy comics, give them comics. Give them something that they're going to be interested in, even during this time. So I realized the other shoe's going to fall, and people are going to push back. and it's going to look bad. But more and more publishers are going to jump on. Otherwise, like we heard, Lion Forge, or was it Oni? They're basically the same company. They are the same company. But Oni announced that they were closing their doors. They're stopping. They're going to be publishers. Aspen Comics, right? They're straight up out of business. They're done. There are going to be more and more publishers dropping like flies. Would you rather no comics be published, so that comic book shops go out together, or would you rather have comic books being sold on the internet? Again, and I know I say this all the time. I've been harping on it, but I think this is a huge point, and this is going to be a point of contention in the coming week and weeks. Definitely, it's going to become a point of contention, because more and more publishers are going to realize that they need cash flow too. It's not just up to Diamond to decide who is allowed to make money. Yeah, so here we go. Greg Capullo, here's a quote from him. For me, little has changed. A veteran of comics, a comic artist who is drawing comics, DC series Dark Knight and Death Metal. I honestly kind of stopped following what's going on with Batman. Greg Capullo says, I'm just proceeding as if all of our release dates are going off as planned. Whether that ends up being the case or not, I guess remains to be seen. Again, yeah, he's not super affected yet. He might be, though, depending on how those books get sold. If you're independent, though, this is the weird thing. It used to be thought that if you were working mainstream, that was the most secure position in comics. Not so. Now, if you're independent, you're so much more secure, because you don't have the same guilt marketing wrapped around you that you have to live by. You can just keep going. You can keep making money. You can keep selling books. You could keep making your books. The cool thing is, I think some of the artists that I employ got a little nervous recently about how things were changing, and they were a little worried about some money. Okay, getting money. It was so cool to just reassure everybody that I'm paying all the artists that I'm paying, that they're still going to get paid, because we still have the money, and in fact, we're still selling books. So none of this is actually affecting Downcast at all. Like, they're still getting paid. It felt great. Now, is that more moral to be able to pay people to continue making comics, or is it more moral for all of us to go down together? I think this is a no-brainer. But again, this is gonna get conflated. This will be the next battleground. Anyway, let me know what you think about all this. I'm interested. I'm just watching this closely, just as I'm sure all of you are interested to see how things go. And I think there are going to be more articles like this, memorializing the comic book industry. And it's going to be a wake-up call, because they're going to be hearing it from the New York Times and CNN and fill-in news network, news outlet. They're going to be hearing it from them. The same kinds of things you've been hearing from you, boy Zach, for a couple years now. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time.